Hello everyone, with Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Monday evening, June 5, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share, subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know that that's been liking your ear recently. Also feel free to ask any of the related questions that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so taking a look at the U.S. National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook, we can see that it has changed from what we saw yesterday, which stated that we had nothing to watch for the next 7 days. Now we have something across the northeastern sections of the North Atlantic that has about a 10% chance of developing into something over the next 7 days. And we know that the next name on the list is Brett, and if this thing does develop, it will be moving to the north and the east, maybe affecting sections of Europe. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see the numerous troughs that keep dotting the northern sections of the North Atlantic, and we can also see that ridge of high pressure that's still dominating the northern sections of the main development region as well as portions of the northeastern Caribbean, bringing a lot of warm temperatures across the region. We can also see numerous tropical waves still dotting the intertropical convergence zone, the southern portions of the main development region, not to mention the northern sections of South America. Taking a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with those numerous troughs of low pressure across the northern section of the North Atlantic. We can also see those low-level patches of clouds moving from east to west across the main development region into the Caribbean, all courtesy of that easterly flow of wind brought about by that high pressure ridge. And we can also see the numerous clouds associated with the tropical waves that stretch all the way from Africa all the way across into portions of northern South America. We'll be talking more about the weather across the Caribbean later on. Let's focus our attention on a prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today. It was stated that we would have received some amount of rainfall across sections of northern Jamaica, especially during the afternoon, and maybe even some in eastern Jamaica. Well, what ended up happening at 3:01 p.m., a post was made on our Twitter page highlighting some clouds bringing some isolated showers and some isolated thunderstorms across sections of some northern parishes. So basically, the prediction that was made for yesterday came true. So we indeed had some amount of overcast skies, if not isolated showers across sections of St. James, maybe inland areas of Trelawney, St. Anna as well. And even up to 4:55 p.m., we saw the sparkling white dots on the infrared satellite images showing all of those isolated thunderstorms, even some high cold cloud tops in there that indicate the cumulonimbus clouds as we know it. And we even had confirmation on our Instagram page from one commenter. Her name is Sharose11, confirming the rainfall in Runaway Bay St. Anne, thunder and rain in that area. Alright, so before we move on, let us take a look at this post that was made this morning on our Twitter page. It stated, high amounts of rainfall are in the forecast for sections of Jamaica, especially eastern parishes, over the next 6 days, starting on Tuesday, June 6, 2023. Flash flooding is possible. If you must go out, bring an umbrella with you. If you come upon flooded roadways, turn around, don't drown. And we took a look at the maps that show the accumulated precipitation for the next 6 days, both the Euro and the GFS. Look at these images, very colorful images. We can see the key at the bottom of the map shows the amount of rainfall. So it starts out from white, then it gets to blue, then green, yellows, oranges, reds, and even up to purples in there. So we can see a lot of rainfall on the Euro model, especially across sections of some southeastern parishes. We see the Euro showing more Manchester, Clarendon, maybe St. Catherine, St. Thomas and Portland as usual. But look at what the GFS is showing for the same time. We can see some purples that indicate even up to 150 millimeters of rainfall or even more. And we see it showing even more robust on the GFS model. And in recent years, the GFS has been more, let's say, correct than what the Euro has been showing in terms of forecast and rainfall. So we shall see exactly what unfolds during the next 6 days. Either way, try to take necessary precautions so that you're not that drastically affected. If you live in low-lying or flood-prone areas, do something about it. Know your evacuation routes. Try to stay above the flood waters. Try your very best to stay alive by turning around and not drowning. It sounds funny, but it is a very serious situation. Many people underestimate the strength of water in their cars and they drive through the flooded roadways not knowing how dangerous it can be. So we'll see exactly how this unfolds. Just try to ensure that you all stay safe. Taking a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can see the confirmation of all those clouds across sections of northern Jamaica, maybe even spilling into sections of St. Anne, sections of Hanover, sections of eastern Westmoreland, northern St. Elizabeth, northern Manchester, maybe even sections of northwestern Clarendon. Might have gotten in on some of that before the clouds had dissipated in the evening hours. And we even had the confirmation of the rainfall before that dissipated as well on the Doppler radar images. Taking a look at the live cam at Crossroads in Kingston in St. Andrew, we can see that we have nothing to worry about right now. We don't have any wet ground, we don't have any windshield wipers going off or going on right now. We didn't have much of any rainfall across the corporate area today, and even if we skip back a couple of hours earlier, we can see that it was a mostly sunny day across the area, so nothing to worry about whatsoever. Quite a sunny and hot day, I might add. Alright, so taking a look at the temperatures for tonight, we can see that we have 28 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 27 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and as usual, as the night progresses, these temperatures should be getting lower. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can still see the majority of the northeastern Caribbean is experiencing a slight heat wave at this time with way above normal temperatures. Look at all of those reds across sections of Puerto Rico and the Leeward Islands. Jamaica is getting in on some above normal temperatures, but not that robust. We're getting at least 1 to 2 or maybe even 3 degrees Celsius above average temperatures. And we see that on both the Euro and the GFS models for 1 p.m. on Tuesday, which is 18Z on Tuesday. We know that when we see consensus or agreement on these maps, when both of them are showing the same thing, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. And we know that for the month of June, the average temperatures in Jamaica is about 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about the equivalent of 33 degrees Celsius. So if we should be receiving above normal temperatures for tomorrow, it should be anywhere from 33 to 36 degrees Celsius at most. Taking a look at the dry air map, we can still see that Jamaica is embedded in a lot of moist air, right there as indicated by the blues, with majority of the dry air across sections of the, let's say, eastern Caribbean, northeastern Caribbean, stretching all the way into sections of the main development region, stretching all the way to Africa, I might add. Taking a look at the Saharan dust forecast, this is 2 p.m. on Tuesday. We can see the Saharan dust starting to make its way into portion of the central Caribbean, maybe even knocking at Jamaica's doorstep. So if your respiratory illnesses are triggered later on this week, asthma, sinusitis, the Saharan dust could be the reason. It's very much making its way westward with all of the easterly flow brought about by the high pressure. So try to take necessary precautions so that you're not that drastically affected, people of Jamaica. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that we still have the lowest wave heights across sections of western Jamaica as indicated by the lighter shades of blue. They represent anywhere from 0 to 0.5 of a meter, while central and eastern Jamaica should be experiencing some higher wave heights, maybe 1 meter wave heights or 1.5 meter wave heights. And we see that on both the Euro model and the GFS model. You know that when both of them are showing the same thing, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. And that's due to the fact that we should be receiving some southeasterly winds tomorrow. So all along we've been experiencing a lot of southerly flow across the island, especially contributing to all of the heat and humidity, considering that those southerly winds are very weak. Now we're getting back to some strong, slightly strong east-southeasterly winds, maybe averaging up to 20 knots in terms of gusts. Both the Euro and the GFS models are showing the same thing. East southeasterly winds averaging, let's say, 10 to 20 knots at most on both Euro and the GFS models. And we see that in the western portion of the island, that's where all of the air is piling up. That's where we have the least amount of wind. Not to mention northern parishes, considering that we have that east-southeasterly flow. Most of the air is going to want to pile up across northern parishes as well. So we know what usually happens in the afternoon hours when we have all of the air piling up in one spot. All of those cumulus clouds become cumulonimbus clouds. They become thunder clouds in the afternoon hours. And then the upper level winds. The upper level winds blow these high cold cloud tops associated with cumulonimbus or thunderclouds off towards whichever direction they're blowing. So we can see that 1 p.m. on Tuesday shows the upper level winds coming in from the west on the GFS, if not west southwest on the Euro model. Either way, that's the direction that they're going to be blowing off to. Something similar to what we were seeing today. So we saw that when those clouds became thunderclouds, they were being pushed off towards the east northeast or the east. That is what we're going to be seeing, something very similar to that tomorrow, especially during the afternoon hours. Taking a look at the precipitation forecast for tomorrow, we can see that as early as 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 8 a.m. Jamaica time, we can see some blues dotting sections of Eastern Jamaica on the Euro model. Euro model is not that robust, but look at the GFS model. Quite robust, showing a lot of blues across the region, especially Eastern Jamaica. So maybe St. Thomas, Portland might get in on some of that rainfall in the morning. Skipping ahead to about 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time, we see some disagreement. We see a lot of rainfall on the Euro model. Euro is very biased at this time. Don't think this is going to be correct. Sometimes the Euro seems like it's on crack or something. Look at all this rainfall across section of southern Jamaica. It's not making sense. But we see consensus. We see that both the Euro and the GFS models are showing rainfall for 3 p.m. on Tuesday. We're definitely in for some rainfall, but the GFS is making more sense. Considering that the low-level winds are coming in from the east-southeast, it would make sense that whatever comes off of the sea would be coming into sections of St. Thomas and Portland during that time. Then, especially considering it's the afternoon hours, we will see all of that air piling up across northern Jamaica, just like what we saw in the wind forecast. So it makes sense that what we're seeing here, northern and western Jamaica for the afternoon hours, we have the darkest shades of blues up there that indicate the more amount of rainfall. So I'm more inclined to believe what the GFS is saying. The Euro is expecting rainfall, but it's not really sure about where and when the rainfall is going to be. So we shall see exactly what unfolds with that. I believe that the GFS is going to win in terms of all of this rainfall for Tuesday. And even skipping ahead to even evening hours and even nighttime hours, we see some of this rainfall even spilling into nighttime hours on the GFS model. The Euro showing something a bit different. We'll see exactly what unfolds. We know that we're in for some amount of major rainfall event as indicated by the accumulated precipitation forecast that we showed earlier. So get ready for that. Some good rainfall is in store for Jamaica, maybe to bust that hydrological drought that we're experiencing with the National Water Commission. Hopefully it doesn't put anyone's life in danger. Taking a look at the accumulated precipitation forecast, these maps are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Tuesday, and we can see that yes, we have consensus in the fact that both of the maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing that we definitely have some rainfall to receive across Jamaica, but there is some amount of disagreement on the where the most rainfall is going to be. We can see some oranges that indicate some more rainfall across eastern Jamaica on the Euro, some reds and oranges on the GFS. Look at the Euro compared to the GFS in terms of southern Jamaica. Not much rainfall on the GFS model, but we see more rainfall across southern Jamaica on the Euro model. Especially northern Jamaica, we see some kind of consensus more across northern Jamaica, maybe more northwestern Jamaica on the Euro than the GFS. Either way, we definitely have some rainfall to receive from now up until 10 p.m. on Tuesday. So get yourself ready. Some isolated flash flooding could be in store, especially considering that we're seeing up to an inch of rainfall being forecasted. Taking a look at the average rainfall for the month of June across Jamaica, we know that we usually receive up to 133 millimeters of rainfall. And considering that our May rainfall started late this year, more than likely we're getting some more of that effect from the month of May. So we're getting in on some more rainfall, especially considering that we're still in our secondary rainy season. We know that July is when we have our dry season or secondary dry season. We know that our first dry season lasts from December all the way to April. So now we're in our secondary rainy season, and then our primary rainy season starts again in let's say August, September, October. So we're grateful for the rainfall that we're receiving so far, and we hope that it continues. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So we can see a lot of rainfall coming into sections of our cloud cover associated with rainfall coming into sections of Barbados, sections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago as usual, Suriname, Guyana, French Guyana as well, Venezuela as usual, sections of Colombia, sections of Costa Rica. You can see a lot of rainfall coming into sections of Nicaragua, sections of Honduras, lots of rainfall across sections of the Yucatan Peninsula, Belize as well. Taking a look at the wide view of Doppler radar images across the northeastern Caribbean, we can see that we didn't have much of anything across the region for today, stretching all the way from Puerto Rico eastward. So we didn't have much of anything, no isolated spots of rainfall, no scattered or numerous rainfalls across the area, not much of anything across the Leeward Islands for today. However, when we take a look at the Barbados radar, we can see all of that rainfall coming in from the east. So they indeed got in on some amount of rainfall across Barbados today, spilling westward into sections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, maybe sections of St. Lucia and Martinique might have gotten in on some rainfall as well. Taking a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see that very heavy rainfall across sections of northwestern Belize, the Yucatan Peninsula, northern Guatemala, sections of eastern Nicaragua. A lot of rainfall right there across eastern Guatemala, Nicaragua right there. You can also see some rainfall across sections of northern Venezuela, sections of Guyana, Suriname and French Guyana as usual. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can still see much of what we've been seeing all along. Above normal temperature stretching all the way from the eastern Caribbean to the western Caribbean. So anywhere across the southern Caribbean as well, ABC Islands, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, French Guyana, Suriname, Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Honduras, El Salvador, sections of Guatemala, sections of let's say Belize as well. While we have that above normal temperature right there anywhere from Mexico's northward, so Texas, the Gulf of Mexico and the southern US including Florida. That's where we have the consensus, that's where we have the agreement, that's where we have both maps showing the same thing. Know that when we have it like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. That relates to the Saharan dust forecast. As stated earlier, we have majority of the Saharan dust now stretching and making its way across into portion of the central Caribbean. So anywhere from eastern Jamaica southward and eastward is what we're expecting to be receiving the Saharan dust and the hazy weather that comes with it. So Hispaniola, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, majority of the Leeward Islands and the Windward Islands, portions of the ABC Islands as well, not to mention Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname and French Guyana. That's where we're going to be having some slight hazy conditions. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, you can see that both the Euro and the GFS are showing that for 12 p.m. on Tuesday, we still have majority of the Gulf of Mexico and the Western Caribbean experiencing anywhere from 0 to 0.5 of a meter, while the Central to the Eastern Caribbean should be receiving anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights. And as usual, wherever we have those purples, that represents 2 meter wave heights or maybe slightly above that. And that's due to the fact that the strongest winds will be in those areas as indicated by the yellows. They represent anywhere from 25 to maybe even 30 knots. So we can see some of that right there to the north of the Eastern Caribbean, not to mention of the east coast of the United States, while we have anywhere from 10 to maybe even up to 20 knot winds across majority of the Caribbean coming in from the east southeast. And we see that on both the Euro and the GFS models as well. Taking a look at the rain forecast for tomorrow, we don't see much for the northeastern Caribbean, just like what we saw today, especially considering that high pressure dome is sitting across that spot. So anywhere from the eastern half of the Dominican Republic eastward, Puerto Rico, majority of the Leeward Islands, we see majority of the rain starting anywhere from let's say that is St. Lucia southward, so St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, as usual, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, Venezuela, even some purples in there that indicate a lot of rainfall, maybe even some flash flooding taking place. We can also see a lot of rainfall across Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, even section of Belize getting in on some rainfall as well, maybe some flash flooding. We can also see a lot of rainfall across sections of Yucatan Peninsula, not to mention sections of Haiti, section of northern Dominican Republic, section of eastern Cuba, Turks and Caicos and the southern Bahamas, as well as section of southern Florida getting in on some of that rainfall. We can also see some rainfall in store for section of the Cayman Islands as well. And we see both maps, the Euro and the GFS, showing much of the same thing. And as usual, when we see both of them showing the same thing like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. So try to take necessary precautions so that you're not that drastically affected, especially where we see the reds that indicate up to 1 inch of rainfall or more. That could lead to some amount of isolated flash flooding. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.